we are thrilled to see so many people here this evening. Would you all please stand and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's really wonderful to see so many of our veterans in our audience tonight. The first item on tonight's agenda is the consent agenda, which is a listing or a group of items to be acted upon with a single motion and vote. It's designed to expedite the handling of limited routine matters by council. I will ask if a citizen or a council member wishes to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion, and at that time, either the public or a council member may request that an item be removed prior to council's vote. The items on tonight's consent agenda include approval of the work session and regular meeting minutes of November the 26th, 2019, approval of the expenditure vouchers for December the 10th, 2019, approval of a renewal fermented malt beverage liquor license for Walmart, and the approval of a renewal tavern liquor license for Cortez Veterans, doing business as Cortez Veterans, Inc. So at this time, is there any item on tonight's consent agenda that anybody would like to see tabled? Yes, John.
Mayor, I would just like to call the council's attention on the extra expenditure list. There is one for 4 states aggregates for $19,900 or $709.77.
Say that again for what, John?
The 4 states aggregates on the supplemental list. I told you there wouldn't be these things on there. It would be just the utility bills. But this one came in late. They've done all the work. And so I said, just go ahead and put it on there so we can get them paid before the end of the year.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any questions about that?
No problem with it.
All right. If there are no changes, may I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the extra expenditures of $29,056.26.
Second. Levy?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Noyes? Aye. Carlson? Aye. Betts? Aye. Sheik?
Aye. All right. We have an annual presentation tonight, which is the anniversary awards for city employees. I must say that this is one of my favorite things to get to do during the year, to be able to recognize those people who have reached a milestone in working for the city. We have people that are at the 5-year mark, and this year we have a couple of employees that are at the 40-year mark. Talk about perseverance. This is the last time that I'll have the opportunity to be able to do this, which makes me sad, but makes me happy that that I get to be here and thank those folks that come every day to do a good job and provide services for the people that live in this community. So my thanks. And let's see, Council, do we want to just go down here in the front so that we can shake hands? And, I'm sorry.
Maybe in front of Sue.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just do that. Council, let's just go down right here in front of Sue, and then as I call out each person's name, if you will come up, please, we'd love to shake your hands. All right, so we're going to start with the 5-year employees. Kurt Alkanoy.
Aw.
Lynn Edwards. Caitlin Goodman. Marissa Hurst. Bill Johnson. Ryan Neely.
Just bouncing it over.
And Tracy Hughes. These people have worked with the city for a decade now. Brad Milligan. And Dean Conquest. All right, 15 years, Dave Allman. Ed Jones. Frank Caldwell. You know, I'll take it. He's having a hard time. Oh, how considerate you are. Sally Joe. That's one of our librarians. Ryan Lloyd. Angela Martinez. 20 years for the city. Following folks that worked for a quarter of a century. At least that's a lot worse than 25. Don Cornett. And Paula Miguel, who was companies before. She was. 3 decades, 30 years, Brent Springroff. And those who have been working 4 years, Dr. Thompson. And Tim Price. Well, again, thanks to all of you who have,
So you can move them up to the top.
okay, we'll do that now. Ouch. I'm looking for Roy's.
Citizen,
Which one is it?
citizen participation.
No, we're gonna go to Roy's. Where's Roy's?
On
Page 2.
Yep.
Resolution.
Yep.
All right. We're going to make a little bit of a change in our agenda this evening, and if you have a copy of the agenda at hand, we're on page 2 at the top. We're going to move to item number 7F, which is resolution number 42, series 2019, which will approve the naming of municipal courtroom located in City Hall after Chief of Police Roy Lane. Peyton, is she,
Somewhere.
is Peyton here?
She's right.
Andy's going to do it.
Okay, Andy. Oh, there he is. It's right there. This is the base of the mic. Do you see it? It'll turn green.
There we go. I want to thank you, and I want to recognize Roy's family is here and all up front for this. Had some things to say, but maybe I better just read them. Chief Roy Lane has put in his retirement. He has been with the city for almost 39 years as the chief of police. He's the longest tenured chief in the state of Colorado currently. He's a highly esteemed leader in the community, demonstrating impeccable character and commitment to his job over all the years. Along with numerous other awards, Chief Lane is awarded the prestigious Pat Steele Award from the Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police, and that's for his long tenured contribution in his profession and within the community. In appreciation and gratitude for his incredible work, we would ask that you would consider Resolution 42, Series 2019, the approval of renaming the municipal court to the Roy Lane Municipal Court. Thank you.
Council, does anybody have any questions or any comments?
I just got to say, I worked with him for several years, and hope he enjoys retirement. Been with committees with him. One good man.
Sue, I know you worked with him.
I worked with the chief for 29 years. Chief gave me a start. He always supported me. If I did something wrong, he was the first one to tell me. But he also would still stand beside me through all the mistakes I made. He helped a lot of people, and Chief gave a lot of people their start in law enforcement. And for that, I think we'll all be grateful to him forever. And he'll really be missed by us.
I've known Roy for almost 30 years, and I know he's a man of integrity, and he's very deserving of this honor.
I think in addition to the leadership that he's provided for the police department in this community, Roy's leadership and his involvement have extended far beyond that. For those of you that may not be aware, Roy was instrumental in getting the bridge shelter started. He served on the Renew Board for many years. He was a bell ringer for the Salvation Army year after year, and helped with the hospice annual pancake fundraiser. So even though his primary responsibility was leading the fine people in our police department, he also played a very important role in moving our community forward in a lot of other ways too. I think the only thing that saddens me tonight is the fact that Roy is not here to see the staff that he's led and the admiration that they feel for him by coming here and wanting to be present for this, and the rest of you that have shown up to mark his retirement. So without any further ado,
Mayor, I would like to add that that's his immediate family right there,
yes.
but the rest of us feel like we're the extended family.
would any of you like to speak? Is there something you would like to say?
Thank you for coming. I know a lot of you came a long way to be here, and it's really nice to see his family. It's really nice to see y'all.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
One of the things that Chief was the most proud of was his family. We heard a lot about his girls, we heard a lot about RC, and his grandchildren. And every grandchild was just the most special thing in the world to him. So, you know, anytime you go to toss a baseball, think of your grandpa boys.
Roy raised 3 children in this community, 3 daughters and a son, and he has 10 grandchildren. So he has quite a legacy in that department as well. All right.
Oh, yeah, one more thing.
Yes.
He was a Dallas Cowboy fan. That's good.
Well, that is important to note that. Sue, would you like to make the motion?
I think I'd like somebody else to do it.
Okay.
Honorable Mayor, I'd make the motion to approve Resolution Number 42, Series 2019, approving the name of the municipal courtroom located in City Hall after Chief of Police Roy Lane as the Roy Lane Courtroom.
I second that.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, and our thanks to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we will go back to the regular order of our agenda, and this is an opportunity for citizen participation. If there is a citizen that would like to address council on an item that is not on the agenda, you may step up to the mic and state your name and address. You have 4 minutes.
Okay, I'm here tonight to share what I was told by a city council member. It would be best if I came and spoke before you with questions. So, can you get $250,000 back from the consultant out of Texas that has written this land use code, where the staff should have been the one that been writing this? Why doesn't the city have any money? And why are all the accounts froze? The people elected you to be our sovereignty, not to rule us. Obama signed Executive Order 13575 on June 9, 2011, which established the White House Rural Council. The executive order seemed to be in line with the United Nations Radical Agenda 21. In other words, the federal government will seemingly control every aspect of the rural America. The orders mention non-government organizations. These grants are taken on a volunteer basis. If we stop taking the carrot on the stick, we can eliminate Agenda 21. I would like to say if you pass this land use code, this would mean that you knowingly and purposely abandon the duty of protect liberty and property of the citizens of Cortez, Colorado. It was quoted, "There is no expense to the taxpayer through this program." She quoted, "The county pays property tax, not the city." Every citizen that owns land, a house, a building in this town pays property tax, regardless living in the city or the county. The taxpayer pays for upgrades, permits, fees, and the fines. That's what this land use code is going to be all about. It's going to be ruled with authority by the government. When she asked to please consider, I asked her to please consider tabling this land use code, her quote was, "We have already." Yes, to get comment. Because you tried to sneak it by, we jumped at the last second. Simplify the language. It's way too broad with big city rules for this little town. We talked a lot of business owners, and they knew nothing of this land use code. If someone is running a daycare, they have to have off-street parking and loading, landscaping, drip system, and buffer yard. There again, we were talking about water a while ago. If you own a business in an alley, you have to landscape an alleyway, being told what kind of plant, how and where to plant, with a drip system in an alley. Why not rocket? Why don't you plant hollyhocks? They're pretty, they don't take water. Manufactured homes, they have to have special factory skirting, special siding, certain pitch of roof, that wasn't mentioned this evening. Residential homes are authorized of what color, type of siding, pitch of roof. You can't build a window that looks out over your neighbor on each side of the house. Permits to sell produce off the front porch. Can't sell produce to farmers market if it's not grown in Colorado, but the people who have caused a big part of the crime can come from the outside to buy dope. Please oppose this land use code. Work on the one you have already. A lot of that isn't even being upheld. And then again, every one of you are invited to join the Baymont Inn January 9th at 7 p.m. There was comment made that nobody's been invited. You're very much invited, and that will answer a lot of the questions, and that way we could ask you a lot of questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth Berger, and I am a resident in Montezuma County. I do own property within city limits. I am concerned about the upcoming approval of the new building code by the city council members. I would like to express two concerns. My first concern is the building code revision has taken several years to get to the point of approval by the city council. During these years, the city council has approved multiple new buildings: the hospital, the courthouse, Osprey, the bridge. None of these landmark buildings fulfill the requirements of the revised building code. They are all beautiful buildings. Don't get me wrong here. I'm sure the city council would have voluntarily worked to fulfill the new requirements of the building code revision if they would actually have considered to approve the building code in the near future. Specifically, I am addressing the issue of no metal siding and all visible parts that are necessary, like air conditioning or pipes, hidden. There's a huge, big metal container sitting on top of the new hospital remodel. Would that be approved? The whole outside of the hospital is mainly metal siding. Yes, it is a new style. It's maybe not what the intention is on the revised coding, no metal siding, but still, that's what it is. There's a lot of decorative rocks that, to my understanding, the new building code would not approve. My second concern is the revised building code that is ready for approval by City Council is in very many areas so vague and open that it will allow a lot of interpretation at the time of the approval of a remodel or a new building. It is my strong belief that the city council members representing all the citizens should protect the citizens from any risk and misinterpretation, but support a strict forward process of approval versus an open risk of a lawsuit, protecting the city and its representatives more than the citizens by allowing and enabling interpretations. Therefore, I ask the City Council members to reconsider the proposed approval of the revised building code at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, all. Oh, I can be heard. Unfortunately, I was out of town when you
Your
guys...
name and address. Your name and address.
Dave Spiegel, 9 West 2nd. I was out of town building roads when you guys rejected this dispensary. I just want to say thank you. Quite frankly, we have enough of them in this town. I don't want my hometown known as the town that's been taken over by pot dispensaries. The number we have is quite sufficient. You guys took a stand, and even though they threatened legal action, you stood your ground. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Charlie Williamson. Back to the land use code,
Your address, please.
1927 Shady Lane. Don't come shoot me. I'm just kidding. Anyway, as far as the land use code goes, I was able to spend a couple hours with Tracy today, and get some factual answers. And I can't say advise, but the way the new code is written, it needs to be written to where people are getting an actual understanding of the way the code is going to be now. If they had a factual, a couple weeks ago I was mad over trying to read it and the way it's going to affect my business. And now I understand the way you're on certain things, that it's not going to affect my business because I know the terminology now. I have stated a number of things with Tracy, and you guys probably went over it in your workshop, but I just asked the community on just don't email, get rid of this. Put an actual question on what your concern is. That way you guys get the facts. So I just urge people to write down exactly what
their issues are and ask.
Yes.
Yes. So you felt like your questions were addressed to your satisfaction?
Some of them. I'm not going to agree with all of them, but yes, I mean,
you did feel that
like
staff was willing to sit
right,
down and visit
and I'll
with
give you an instance and it doesn't have anything to do with what I do for a living, but like as far as the siding, you don't have vinyl siding listed on there. And so folks are under the impression that vinyl siding is no longer allowed, but it does state in there, or wood-like. So you need to institute put vinyl siding in there with the metals, the stucco, the wood-like sidings, because you can get a vinyl siding that has the wood-like dimples across it. So people are worried that if, some of my vinyl comes off of my home, I can't replace it with vinyl and I have to match it to my neighbor's colors, and it's really vague the way, and confusing the way these things are written. So I just would hope you would readdress the way some of these things are written and take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. We're now moving on to public hearings. The first item is a quasi-judicial item, Resolution 41, Series 2019, having to do with the establishment of a hemp oil extraction facility, NEVA. Turn on your mic, Mike.
This is a quasi-judicial matter. We're just considering what's presented tonight at the meeting as far as what to make the decision on. What you're going to hear tonight is we learned some additional information. The applicants are here to answer your questions. There's been I'll call it an upgrade to the application. You're going to learn from staff and the applicant that this is not a dangerous process. It's actually fairly safe. It's UL approved. There's no flammables or explosives. You're going to learn that the applicant has agreed to put in a filtration system before production starts to deal with any possible odors. It's still something of an unknown as to whether odors will even exist or not. They've also taken other steps for storage of the materials you're going to hear, so you'll be able to have some of those questions you had before answered. And so with that, Neva.
Okay, good evening, council. So as Mike said, and as I told P&Z, this is a resubmittal of an application that you heard earlier, and for the sake of the public record, I am going to go through the full application again, so please bear with me. So the city's received a conditional use application for a facility that extracts hemp oil from an existing building located at 1480 Industrial Road. Congress removed industrial hemp and its derivatives from the list of Schedule I drugs in 2018, and producing and selling industrial hemp and its derivatives are legal under federal law. The applicant is 303 Labs, and they are proposing to extract the hemp oil using a carbon dioxide extraction. The property is 2.33 acres and zoned industrial, with an existing 5,500 square foot building. Under the land use code, this type of manufacturing requires a conditional use permit. There will be no exterior construction on this building. So according to the applicant's narrative, 303 Labs will create hemp oil infused products. Using carbon dioxide as the extractive solvent, the hemp oil will be extracted from hemp and used in various products. The applicant proposes to use an Eden supercritical CO2 extraction system, which has received engineering review and meets the International Fire Code and American Society of Mechanical Engineer boiler and pressure vessel code standards. And our building official has just determined that this process is safe. So this application is a resubmittal, and as Mike mentioned, the applicant has provided additional information on potential odor mitigation. The applicant has provided 4 mitigation techniques to control odor on site, including air purifiers and filters within the hemp storage and processing room, storage of hemp in odor-proof and sealed bags, and storage of hemp on the farm from which it is harvested. Other than that, there are no substantial changes to the application. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this submittal on December 3rd and recommended approval to City Council. One condition of approval regarding odor mitigation has been added to the attached resolution. The council can recommend additional conditions of approval if the council believes the conditions are necessary to satisfy the criteria of the conditional use permit. The land use code requires off-street parking and loading requirements for a facility of this nature. The building has 10 parking spaces and a loading area, which meets the requirements. So because this is a conditional use permit, they are required to meet certain criteria, and I will go over those criteria. So the first criteria is that the proposed conditional use is compatible with adjacent uses. This is the industrial park. The applicant does not propose to change the exterior appearances of the building. The extraction process is a closed loop process with no carbon dioxide loss to the surrounding environment. The manufacturing will take place entirely within the warehouse and should not be the cause of fumes, noise, vibration, or gas or dust. The loading area and circulation on site should not impact traffic circulation or parking. The applicant is willing to work with the city on odor mitigation solutions if odor becomes an issue. Staffing has included a condition of approval where the filtration system is required. At any point after which the facility is in operation and there are still odor complaints, staff has provisions to require more odor mitigation. The P&Z did add a condition on the resolution to include the installation of an air filtration system prior to issuance of a CO for this, and so that was included as condition D of your resolution. Criteria 2 is that the proposed conditional use has incorporated design features sufficient to protect the adjacent uses. The access to the building and parking lot are existing, and they are not expected to change. Criteria 3 is that all proposed accessory uses must demonstrate they are necessary. For this project, there are no accessory uses. Criteria 4 is that adequate public services are available. Since this building is existing, public services are already in place. Criteria 5, provisions for proper maintenance of the building. The applicant will be required to maintain the properties according to city code and lease requirements. And finally, 6, the proposed conditional use shall conform to adopted plans, hours of operation, etc. And the land use code does not have hours of operations for businesses within the industrial zoning. The proposed use does conform with parking and loading standards, and CDOT does not have a concern with highway access. This application was forwarded to applicable agencies, and actually those comments have not changed from the previous review, except that our city engineer did recommend an air filtration system for that. And the applicant has added that into their requirements. So this application was reviewed for cohesion with the comprehensive plan. And it does meet several goals and ongoing objectives, including sustaining a well-balanced and diverse local economy, exploring the options to provide incentives for the production, distribution, and purchase of local products, to expand infill and rehab opportunities within the city limits. The applicant does propose to buy and receive all of their hemp from Montezuma County. So, council has 4 alternatives for this project. Council can approve the conditional use permit to establish a hemp oil extraction facility. The council can deny the conditional use permit and state their reasons. The council can ask for more information and table the application. Or council can approve the permit stating any conditions they feel are necessary to satisfy the review criteria listed above. So, I believe from me, I am finished.
At this time, would the Nunez's like to speak, address the council?
Hello, everyone. It is a privilege to be here. The last time that we were here, the proposal was presented by both of my brothers, and I am lucky enough to be here today to present the project to you guys. So my name is Marlene Nunez, and my address is 799 Arbor Street here in Cortez. So back in December 2016, I actually received a degree, a bachelor's in chemistry from Fort Lewis College, and I had the honor to work with an organic chemist. So we did organic extraction for about 2 years, so that's where I learned how to extract from organic matter. So basically what our plan is to do is to create products that have medicinal and wellness for the community. So the reason that I actually came up with the idea was I'm actually finishing up a nursing degree in Atlanta, Georgia. So as you guys know, as the attorney mentioned earlier, hemp is actually no longer a controlled substance. It is federally legal. And in Georgia, I worked in a facility where it was a day center for patients that had cognitive disabilities, so cerebral palsy, patients that had strokes and stuff like that, and every single patient was on CBD, and I was like, this is interesting. And that's whenever my research started. I found out that it's actually extracted from hemp, and that is what we would love to do is start a facility where we are extracting hemp. There is a couple of different ways to extract hemp, and you can use propane and butane, but we actually decided to go with a much safer and kind of a friendly way to do it, which is carbon dioxide extraction. The equipment is a lot more costly, but as I said before, it's not with propane or butane, which is explosive, and since it would be me and my family that would be making the oil, we wanted to go ahead and get rid of that risk. And we did go ahead and look into a filtration system, and as the attorney said earlier, we will not even begin to extract until the filtration system is implemented. And it uses a 5-inch activated carbon filter and also a HEPA filter. So what a HEPA filter is, it's a high efficiency particulate air filter. So basically, it gets rid of any contaminants, any odors, anything that we honestly would not want in our oil to begin with. So, and also what I wanted to mention was there's 49 hemp farmers registered in Montezuma County. So there is a lot of hemp. 1 acre of hemp yields anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 pounds in hemp. So we are doing this also to get some of that hemp from the farmers and help them out. And we're also opening up our services so that they can go ahead and have us extract their hemp for them if they would like that, and they could sell it or they could do whatever they want. But I really think that this would be a great way to strengthen the economy in Cortez, Colorado. And we're really lucky because Colorado is one of the #1 places in America for hemp, where honestly, #1 right now. There's a couple other states that are beginning to beat us, and the biggest problem is we lack extractors. So we have a ton of hemp farmers, but there's not a lot of people that are extracting it. So as I mentioned in the last meeting, a pound of hemp is basically bought depending on the percentage of CBD. So from a pound of hemp yields costs anywhere from $25 to $35, but if you can yield about 25 grams of oil from that 1 pound of hemp at $100 a gram, which is what CBD retails at, anywhere from $75 to $200, you're making $2,500 to $3,500 off 1 pound of hemp, which was $30 to begin with. So I think it would be a great thing for Cortez. I don't know if you guys have any questions. Oh, and I also wanted to mention, in the last meeting, whenever we went in front of the council, they mentioned that an extraction business had been denied in the past, but I did want to make the distinction that that was a marijuana extraction business, and we are not extracting marijuana. We actually initially spoke to Neva and asked her if we could do marijuana extraction, and she automatically was like, you can't even apply for it. Like, you can't do it, but you guys can do hemp because hemp is legal at a federal level. So I did want to go ahead and throw that in there, that although it is an extraction business, it is not a marijuana extraction. It is a hemp extraction business, and hemp is federally legal. And also the smell, the terpene. So what produces the smell in cannabis is called terpenes. So the terpene profile in hemp is very different from the terpene profile in marijuana. So when they engineer marijuana, the point is to get a really high potent marijuana plant. So they feed it with a lot of different stuff, which makes the plant a lot more stinky, whereas hemp, it is not anything like that. So the odor, it's not, when you smell hemp, it's not like smelling marijuana. As I said, they're two different things. So I was wondering if you guys have any questions.
I have a question about, in the comments, it said that the storage was intended to be on the second floor and that you were going to address that. Has it been addressed?
It has been addressed. So the second floor for the Factory 1 designation makes the second floor not usable for even office space, I believe. And so the applicant does have space on the first floor for hemp storage.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions, council?
I don't have any. Because my concerns before was the first street, everything for the odors and everything, it looks like it's been addressed. So.
Agreed.
At this time, I will open this up to public hearing. If there is anyone that would like to speak for or against the issuing of a permit for this hemp extraction facility, please please go to the mic and state your name and address. Okay. Seeing no one step forward, I will close the public hearing, and at this point, if there are no other questions or comments, may I have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution Number 41, Series 2019, approving a conditional use permit to establish a hemp oil extraction facility at 1480 Industrial Road, Cortez.
Four conditions.
Second.
Lucero?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Noyes? Aye. Levy?
Aye.
Aye. Well, congratulations. You're in business. Invite us to your grand opening, please. All right. Moving on to unfinished business. Resolution number 36, Series 2019, has to do with setting the fees and charges for the Cortez Electric Vehicle Charging Station. Peyton.
Yes, good evening, Council. At the November 26th meeting, a resolution was brought to Council to apply fees for the EV charging station that'll be at the at the Welcome Center. There was some confusion around the language for the parking fee, and that language has been changed, and hopefully it's a lot clearer now. So we're just here to see if there's any questions and see if for council approval. Thank you.
Council, does anybody have questions about the change in wording?
Just trying to find the fees. here.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution Number 36, Series 2019, setting fees and charges for the Cortez Electric Vehicle Charging Station located at the Cortez Welcome Center for charging services offered by the City of Cortez, Colorado.
I second that.
Noyes?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Lucero?
Me? Aye.
Aye. New business. Resolution number 38, Series 2019, authorizing a mail ballot election to be held on April the 7th, 2020. Linda.
Yes, Mayor Sheik and Council, it's that time to prepare our election for next year. Our petition process will start the first part of January, and to begin that, we have to set our election date. By charter, it's required the first Monday in April in even-numbered years. It's the first Tuesday, after the first Monday. So our date will be set for Tuesday, April 7th, 2020, and the resolution just sets our election process to begin our paperwork. So we ask that you approve Resolution Number 38, Series 2019.
Okay, any questions?
I don't have any.
All right, may I have a motion,
I'll
please?
make a motion to approve Resolution Number 38, Series 2019, authorizing a mail ballot election to be held April 7th, 2020.
Second.
Betts?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item under new business is the payment of invoices through 2019. Ben, is he?
I'll be Ben
Okay,
tonight.
you'll be Ben tonight.
Also.
Okay.
The staff is asking council for authorization to go ahead and pay bills in this year, so we don't incur late fees and things. And then we will give you the listing of the bills that were paid at your first meeting in January.
Any questions? Comments? May I have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve the payment of invoices through December 31st, 2019, with a list of the expenditures to be furnished to council at their first meeting, January 2020.
Second.
Carlson?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. All right, resolution number 39, series 2019, has to do with allowing the Cortez Water Dragons swim team to pursue appropriate sponsorship funding for the replacement of starting blocks. Dean.
Yes, good evening, City Council. The city received a request from the Cortez Water Dragon swim team for the 50-meter starting blocks to be replaced at the municipal outdoor swimming pool, as they have no longer become usable. Neither the Cortez Water Dragon swim team nor does the city of Cortez have funding available for the replacement of the starting blocks, anchors, and concrete decking on the west side of the outdoor swimming pool. The Cortez Water Dragons swim team is proposing to sell sponsorships and solicit private donations to raise the necessary funds of $30,000 to $35,000 for the replacement of the starting blocks, anchors, and concrete decking of the west end of the outdoor swimming pool. The city staff realizes that capital project funding is getting used more and more for capital improvements such as roofing, parking lot, and maintenance equipment replacement and other infrastructure improvements. With resources dwindling for new purchases, outside funding sources are needed more than ever to accomplish necessary improvements to our facilities and helping to make them more marketable for tournaments, practice facilities, meets, and other special events. And as, you know, as presented at the work session earlier, that, you know, they usually have one local swim meet as well as a regional swim meet every 3 to 5 years, so, which is has this impact in our economy during the summer for those times when they have those meets. 2 outside funding strategies are being considered for fundraising purposes. The first strategy is the solicitation of private donations, which covered under the donation policy of Resolution Number 7, Series 2012. The second strategy is the sale of sponsorship signage on specific items that have a direct benefit back to the city. Presently, the city has no sponsorship procedure or policy to give staff direction on how to proceed with this request, except that the city allows sponsor banners in the park that are temporarily hung up for games, tournaments, or special events and then taken down once the activity is over. As an exception to the rule of no permanent sponsorship signage on parks and recreation facilities, the city staff would like to proceed forward with the sponsorship request with certain restrictions in place listed in Resolution Number 39, Series 2019. Please see the attached resolution for your review. Also, please note that any additional sponsorship requests will need to go before the council for their approval. So I guess any questions of the council?
All right. If there are no questions, additional questions, may I have a motion?
I don't have any.
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion that we approve Resolution Number 39, Series 2019, allowing the Cortez Water Dragons swim team to pursue appropriate sponsorship funding for the replacement of the starting blocks, anchors, and concrete decking on the west end of the municipal outdoor swimming pool.
Second.
Levy?
Aye.
Carlson? Aye. Lucero?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. Resolution number 40, Series 2019, is the consideration of approval supporting a grant application for a schoolyard grant from the State Board of Great Outdoors Colorado for a middle school play structure. Dean?
Yes, thank you. Again, City Council, the Montezuma Cortez Middle School principal, KDOT, contacted the city's Parks and Recreation Director, myself, to assist them in writing a Great Outdoors Colorado grant, schoolyard grant for a play structure and poured-in-place rubberized surface material. The principal requested that the Parks and Recreation Director work with 6 advanced placement middle school students to write the grant and enrich their educational knowledge of grant writing. The director has been working with the middle school students since Thursday, October 17th, to complete the GOCO schoolyard grant and has included the involvement of his recreation supervisor, Rosa Diamond, to ensure the grant gets completed before the Tuesday, January 7th, 2002 deadline. And I just want to say on a side note that it's been a pleasure to work with these students, these 6 middle school students, and it really gives you a lot of encouragement, the enthusiasm they have and how how seriously they've taken this project, and just to see our youth rise up and meet the challenge. So it's been really invigorating to be a part of that process just for me alone. So just wanted to put that in there. For this evening's discussion, resolution number 40, series 2019 needs to be approved by the council, which will allow the Montezuma Cortez Middle School to apply for the GOCO schoolyard grant through the city of Cortez as the applicant. There should be very minimal city staff time involved in the grant administration of the schoolyard grant, where it only involves a play structure and poured in place rubberized surface material. And I think you saw in the resolution, just a note for people, that the grant would be asked of $82,500, and the total project cost would be estimated to be around $110,000. And the school district would be coming up with the remaining amount. Discount from one of the playground companies, and probably some in-kind labor that the school district would get from some potential contractors that may help donation-wise.
Any questions, comments?
No, I don't have any.
May I have a motion?
I make a motion that we consider approving resolution number 40, series number 2019, supporting the grant application for the schoolyard grant from the State Board of the Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund and the completion of the Montezuma Cortez Middle School play structure.
Second.
Betts?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. The next item on the agenda has to do with council considering approving the renaming of City Park to Veterans Park and providing space at that park for a memorial wall recognizing service members who have been lost in combat. Dean.
Yes, and I'd like to just do a special thank you to all the veterans that showed up tonight, and just thanking you for our service to our country. So thank you, and thanks for attending this evening.
Thank you.
The City of Cortez staff, if we want to.
By the way, you're welcome. You really get it.
Thank you.
City Council, the City of Cortez staff had been approached earlier in the year by community members about naming one of our outdoor facilities in tribute to one of our fallen service members, Will Lindsay, who was killed in action in Afghanistan on March 21st, 2019. Follow-up with the Will Lindsay family was conducted following his memorial service in late August 2019. Before approaching Will Lindsay's parents, Grant and Tammy Lindsay, an idea was conceived to see about renaming City Park to Veterans Park and providing space at that park for a memorial wall recognizing service members lost in combat. Memorials already exist at City Park for our military veterans with a bell and a flag display. Upon sharing this idea with Grant and Tammy Lindsay, they approved of the idea and thought it was an appropriate way to honor their son, where Will served in the Special Forces and did not want to draw attention to himself or others serving with him. The City of Cortez Parks and Recreation and Forestry Advisory Board members discussed the renaming of City Park to Veterans Park and providing space at that park for a memorial wall recognizing service members lost in combat at their Friday, September 20th, 2019 meeting. A unanimous recommendation was passed at their meeting to rename City Park to Veterans Park and to work with the local Veterans Administration organizations to provide space and establish a memorial wall. I bring forth this request to rename City Park to Veterans Park and provide space for a memorial wall recognizing service members lost in combat. In recent months, we lost another county resident from Mancus Marine Gunnery, Sergeant Scott Copenhaver, who died serving his country in Iraq on August 10th, 2019. Attached is a resolution number 14, Series 2010, as a reminder of our criteria for procedures for naming, renaming of city parks and other city facilities. I have also reached out to several of our local military veteran organizations, and some of their members are represented here this evening in support of this request. I would now ask the council if it is permissible for a couple of the military veteran representatives to approach the podium and sharing their thoughts regarding this request.
Yes, please.
Green button. All right. Mayor, council members, members of the public, and my distinguished fellow veterans, thank you for being here tonight. Rick Torres, 11342 Road 29. I also have the honor of being the Montezuma County Veteran Service Officer. I won't bore you with a lot of statistics, but depending on which source you look online, which federal source, there's approximately 26 to 27,000 citizens in the county. Veterans make up a little over 2,000, which is about 8.2%. So almost 1 in 10 people as you walk around this community is a veteran. That's not even counting the family members and surviving spouses. Throughout the year, our office averages about 2,000 veterans that come through our office. About 120 to 150 are new clients every year. So I get to interact with these amazing men and women throughout the year. I am touched that you're considering renaming City Park to Veterans Park. It's a fitting tribute to not just these families that have lost their members in combat operations, but it's also a fitting tribute to all the veterans, their family members, and especially their surviving spouses. Thank you for very much, and I am in full support of this resolution.
Thank you.
My name is John Davis. I reside at 14183 Road 27, which is outside of the city. However, tonight, it's city business. I'd like to read a letter from the auxiliary president who couldn't be here tonight, and then also speak on behalf of the commander in the VFW post 5231, which represents Montezuma County. The letter reads, Dear City of Cortez council members, I write on behalf of our 61 members in support of the proposal to change this Cortez City Park name to Veterans Park. As an organization which supports all veterans, veterans' families, as well as active military and their families, we believe that this would be a significant way for our community to show honor and to those who serve the country. Through this letter, we also acknowledge there may be responsibilities that come with the name change, such as a memorial wall being built. We, as Montezuma County spouses, parents, grandparents, siblings, and children, and grandchildren of service member and men and women, would be honored to assist in any way our organization can to fulfill the plans of and help maintain the structure of said memorial. Thank you for considering the name change and honoring those who served, sacrificed, and protected our country. Sincerely, Karina Hampton, President, VFW Auxiliary Post 5231, who resides in Mancos. I am the adjutant for VFW Post 5231, and speaking on behalf of our membership, we are in full support of this, and we will do whatever it takes.
Thank you. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? All right. At this time, if there are no other questions or comments, may I have a motion?
I got a comment.
I have a comment too.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just want to say what Dean says. Thank everybody that have served and the people that are serving at this present time and everything, because I wouldn't have more freedom if it wasn't for you guys.
And I just wanted to say that I spoke with a local veteran that's not here tonight, but he actually brought up something to me that I thought was really poignant that I should share, which is I didn't serve. And so I can feel really good about making a symbolic gesture But I would urge everyone who hasn't served and those who have to use this park as a memory trigger to remember that it's not just a symbolic gesture we need to make. This is a great first step towards awareness, but we have people actively facing challenges in our community, and as a city, I think we should really commit to identifying those issues and really showing these people the respect and thanks that they deserve. So thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. As a fellow veteran, I'd like to thank you, fellas and gentlemen and women who served. Thank you for your service, and welcome home.
Thanks. All right. May I have a motion? Mike, would you like to?
Yes. Honorable Mayor, as a veteran, I'd like to make a motion that we approve renaming the city park to Veterans Park and providing space at that park for a memorial wall recognizing service members lost in combat.
Second.
Lucero?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. Thank you. The next item is a quasi-judicial item. It is for the purpose of setting a public hearing for a new retail liquor store license for Paragon Business Investments, doing business as the seller. Mike.
We received an application.
Mike, is your mic on?
Oh, gosh.
Mike.
All this technology. We received an application for a new retail liquor license for a company called Paragon Business Investments. It's going to be located out at the Fairway Drive intersection. We're also asking that council set the neighborhood boundaries as the city of Cortez, and to schedule a public hearing on January 14th, 2020 to formally review and decide on the liquor license.
Okay. May I have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to set a date for January 14, 2020 to review a new retail liquor store license for Paragon Business Investments LLC, doing business as the seller, to be located at 2410 Fairway Drive, Suite B, Cortez, and the neighborhood boundaries as the city limits.
Second.
Betts?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Noyes? Aye. Sheik?
Aye. Peyton, letter of support for the Mesa Verde National Park dark sky designation.
Thank you. As council remembers, at our November 26th work session, David Quinn came in from Mesa Verde Museum Association to request a letter of support to become, for the Mesa Verde National Park, to become a dark sky designation. So attached to the packet is a letter of support, and staff is recommending that council approve the letter of support. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions?
Nope. I don't have any.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to consider authorizing the mayor to sign a letter of support to Mesa Verde National Park becoming an official international dark sky park.
Second.
Carlson?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. Ordinance number 1272, Series 2019, approving the first reading for revisions of the City of Cortez medical and retail marijuana codes. Mike.
Back before the already referenced new day application was made to City Council, we had started working on reorganizing the retail and medical marijuana codes. There were some confusing parts. We didn't fully set forth everything that needed to be in there. The judge actually pointed out a few things that needed to be set forth, and And so that's what we are doing in this reorganization. There's very few changes. There's some just basically organization. What we did add was we declared the neighborhood to be the entire city of Cortez, and we set forth who can speak at these public hearings regarding a license application, and that would be residents, persons who own businesses or real estate in the city who live outside the city. And again, this is in line with the judge's order. We also, earlier, council had talked about authorizing retail marijuana manufacturing in the city. We put that in this ordinance. It'll be effective in March. On the 31st, coincides with the land use code, so if we need to make some changes about where people manufacture, we'll be able to do it with the new land use code, or as some people have pointed out, we'd be able to adjust the old land use code to allow this. This has been vetted by the Denver attorneys who represented us in the New View appeal. They've given their approval. So what staff is recommending at this time is setting this, approving it at first reading, setting it for a second reading and public hearing. I want to say at the first or second, which, the 14th, Linda?
January 14th.
The 14th of January, 2020.
Mike, where's the definition of neighborhood that you said?
It talks in one of the sections, it declares the neighborhood to be the city of Cortez. It's the same one where it talks about persons of interest. And I don't have the number in front of me. Let me see. It's in both places and under both. I think it's 4112.
Oh, I see it. D.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. I got 4104D.
Yes, and then it's also in 204, or in the 200 section for the retail.
Okay, thank you.
So all these changes are because is the attorney's suggestion?
Pardon, sir?
Is all these changes because of the attorney?
So some of them we were actually looking at doing before things happened, and then we ran them by. I wrote the ordinance and sent it up to the Denver attorney, and she said, yes, these are all good. The attorney that had represented us.
All good as a suggestion?
Pardon?
That was just a suggestion from the attorney?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
These changes were just a suggestion?
These changes were something the city had been looking at prior to the appeal and the decision. They were areas the code needed to be improved. I wrote the ordinance and sent it up to her, and she said this is good. She did not have any problems with it vis-a-vis what the judge had decided. Matter of fact, the judge had made some of these same statements in the appeal order when he said, hey, the neighborhood isn't declared, so the city, should be looking at doing that. And then the city should be talking about who can speak at these public hearings. And so that's what we've done. Those are the only real changes we made. Everything else we just clarified and made sure it was in both. The distance requirement, for example, was only in, I think, the medical marijuana section, so we made sure it was in both so there'd be no confusion.
The retail marijuana product manufacturing approval is new though, correct?
Yes, sir. That is new, and that was based on that one workshop where council talked about doing it, so we put it in here. It would be a business, I guess it would be something similar to what you approved tonight for hemp. Could be allowed in the city depending on where we decide, or the city, city staff and council decide would be appropriate.
Do we go from a 3-prong test to now a 7-prong? Is that what I'm under? Not a test, that's not the right word, but, because we used to have a 3-pronged inquiry.
Actually, we had this 7-prong, but we had misused the 3-prong.
Okay, so is that going away?
The 3-prong did. The final sentence of the order was what the judge found some problems with, where it talked about considering the desires of the neighborhood and the inhabitants and those things. Yes, those are no longer considerations. I think you'll be looking at doing hearings more like we did for the retail cultivation grow for what used to be Medicine Man, Mountain Annie's. And so that's where we'd be looking at hearings more like that.
Was there, With regards to number 6 of the test, I'm looking at section 4106, subsection A, paragraph 6, where it says the facts and evidence adduced as a result of the investigation.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, it's a section 4106, A6.
Yes?
Okay, so is that where we would put, even though I know we're getting rid of the 3-pronged part, is that where we would basically make those findings if we were going to do the different findings? Because that seems like kind of a catch-all. Am I reading?
The findings would be, basically, the findings would be 106A, 1 through 5, 6,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So 6 is kind of a catch-all though, isn't it?
well, it would be what the police chief or his
Okay.
representative stated to you would be.
Gotcha.
At the,
So that would include the comments from the various departments and things like that?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
So when you were saying the neighborhood, the people that can comment, anybody in public can't, just the people in the surrounding area? Is that how you said it?
What we set it up for was the people that could be able to comment would be those that were in the neighborhood of the city of Cortez, which would be residents, property owners, and business owners. If the property owners lived outside the city, they could talk. If the business owners lived outside the city, they could talk, but not just residents from the county.
Okay, so like Mancus would be out. Okay, gotcha.
Unless they own a business.
Unless they
Unless
own
they have a business in the city limits?
property or a business in the city limits, then they could speak. They would be affected then.
Okay, gotcha. And are those the only 2 substantial changes?
Pardon?
The rest of this is pretty much
The rest of it is
as
pretty much
was?
exactly the same as it was before. We just reorganized it and cleared up some typos and some things like that.
Okay.
This is not a revamp other than the addition of the retail marijuana manufacturing.
Okay. Thank you.
That was really at our request.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. May I have a motion, please, for first reading?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion we consider approving PM first reading ordinance number 1272, Series 1219, approving revisions to the City of Cortez medical and retail marijuana codes and authorizing the issuance and the regulation of retail marijuana product manufacturing approval within the City of Cortez and set for a public hearing on January 14th, 2020.
Second.
Noyes?
Nay.
Betts?
Nay.
Lucero?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. All right, resolution number 43, series 19, supporting rulemaking to require Regulation 7 protection statewide. John?
I'm glad our representative stuck around because I'm not going to be able to answer questions here. But a couple years ago, the state passed Regulation 7, which is primarily, well, it only affected the Front Range. And they were only worried about right along the highway. And this has to do with the oil and gas extraction, releasing copious amounts of greenhouse gases. And as strange as that sounds, it seems to settle over the four corners where we live. This was originally only pertained to the Front Range and only around the highway. This is asking for the legislature to make it statewide.
All right, council, are there any questions?
And what is it now?
I don't feel like this was really covered in the workshop. He talked about the Colorado Water Plan, but he didn't really talk about this at all.
Correct.
And it wasn't on any of our handouts, except for what was in the packets. So is this something that we can table so we can get adequately informed to vote on it?
Can you come up
or-
and-
Yes.
Do you want to
Hi,
step up
please.
to the mic?
Please, yes.
Hi, my name is Nathan Goodman. I am a La Plata County resident, though I work in Cortez oftentimes. So speaking to the Regulation 7 rulemaking, the history in brief is in 2014, Colorado became the first state in the country to pass a methane rule, essentially. And all this means is monitoring emissions coming from oil and gas extraction. And when I say emissions, I mean leaks. It really only regards when there's a fault in the system and there is gas that is exiting into our atmosphere and our environment. In 2017, the state passed Regulation 7, which added additional protections to 9 counties in the Front Range and kickstarted a 2-year process where now they are considering making those regulations statewide, which is terminating at the end of this year, where they're holding a series of rulemakings, one of which is tomorrow in Durango. Now, the reason why this issue is pertinent to us here locally is, as was mentioned, we are in the Four Corners methane hotspot, which if you look at a map of where methane sits in the country, we are the single red spot in this region, covering northern New Mexico and southwestern Colorado. Now, this is actually fairly damaging to our air quality, so any way we can seek to limit or mitigate the methane that already sits in our low-lying atmosphere would be beneficial to our public health. Now, what I think is really compelling about this rulemaking is that there really aren't any losers. What this calls for is leak detection and repair, which is saying we don't want leaky lines. And in fact, oil and gas would actually benefit from this financially, economically, otherwise, given they will be losing less of their yield to leaks. It's simply saying, let's patch up our jobs and not be leaking into the atmosphere. For any other industry, that's more or less standard, and it has a direct tie then to our public health and safety, beyond which the state shouldn't only be looking after these protections for 9 counties in the Front Range. This should be statewide, and especially impacting us in the region that is most affected by methane pollution as a public health and safety issue. I think, is that a sufficient?
Well, let me ask for some clarification, because I think this is accurate, but just to be sure. It's my understanding that the gas that leaks has value. That if it
Yes.
weren't leaking, that would be a product that they would be taking to market to sell.
100%. It would be an economic, yes.
And so really and truly, and that's a product that's extracted from public lands, which is really a product that belongs to Americans. And so when they let it leak off into the air, not only are they wasting a valuable commodity, but they're also polluting our air. Is that correct? Is that a correct statement?
100%,
Okay.
very correct. Everything that's being leaked is the product that they are seeking to extract. And like I said, I think the regulation in this case has no losers, given a compliance with the regulation will benefit oil and gas, their yield, and their profit.
Is the regulation, is the oversight CDPHE, EPA, who's regulating?
It's the Air Quality Control Commission.
Air Quality Control Commission, thank you.
If this was an issue for companies losing money, wouldn't they have addressed that to start with? Thank you, sir.
Can you clarify that somewhat?
So if this was an issue that the companies were losing money because of these leaks, wouldn't that have been an issue that they would have addressed by now?
That's what you would think, and that hasn't happened, which boggles the mind. There are empirics that show that with the 50,000 oil and natural gas pads, wells, et cetera, in the state, there are thousands and thousands of leaks every year. Essentially, when it's inspected, there are leaks, and then they're patched. So just increasing the frequency of those inspections means that those leaks will be patched sooner, which will be to the benefit of these companies, ultimately.
I have one other question about the regulations. I read the proposed resolution, and it has language about the mitigation that's on I-25. My concern is if we ask for them to come and start regulating down here, is there any cost that will be assessed to the citizens of this area as a result of implementing those mitigation techniques? Or are those funded by the companies that engage in this practice? How does the mitigation practice work?
Not to my understanding, no, that would be on the companies, but again, by employing these practices, the companies will be increasing their yield and net total positive economic growth.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
So it's just a question of making sure that the companies do what they need to do to keep our air as clean as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, are there any other questions, council? May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I'd like to make a motion we consider approving resolution number 43, series 2019, supporting rulemaking to require Regulation 7 protections statewide.
Second.
Carlson?
Aye.
Lucero?
Nay.
Noyes?
Nay.
Levy?
Yay, aye. Aye.
Which one?
Wait.
Sue?
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
I think it was a fail.
Yeah. Okay, resolution number 44, series 2019, supporting the implementation of the Colorado Water Plan. John?
As you saw in the work session, this is a resolution in support of Colorado Water Plan. The voters at the last election approved DD, which will provide money to implement this plan. For the past year or so, the city of Cortez has begun our own zero-scaping and trying to reduce our own water usage, and this plan is asking for support to make this statewide, that we are concerned about our water and that we'd like to stretch it as far as we possibly can.
Well, council, does anybody have any questions or comments on this? In that case, may I have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 44, series 2019, supporting the implementation of the Colorado Water Plan.
Second.
Noyes?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Lucero?
Nay.
Betts?
Nay.
Aye. We have no draft resolutions or ordinances. We have no other items of business. At this time, if there is a citizen that would like to address council, you may step to the mic.
Good evening. My name is Alan Mays. Live out in the county, out at Lewis. Is this a comment on any subject? Can I go to the land use code one more time?
Of course.
I think that something that I learned here at the workshop today, and something that was said by your attorney with one of the resolutions that was being discussed on something with the marijuana rules and how you pass requests from marijuana growers or cultivation, whatever, you can amend the existing land use code. That was done with what you guys discussed tonight. So I have no idea why the new land use code, the 400 and whatever page code, has been taking so much of your time to deal with. I think you can amend the existing land use code. I also think that if you want to encourage, and I've said this before, encourage business, young people to start businesses, young people to move and live in Cortez, you need to really look at your land use code and see, you need to read that thing. You need to understand it. It was developed by someone from out of state.
Sir, it was developed by our local
I'm sorry?
planner. The land use code was developed by a planner that's employed by the city.
So why did
Yes,
the P&Z director have to ask you for buy-in on this land use code at the workshop this evening? She asked you. Can you support this land use code?
I think it was for the
She
benefit.
asked, no. She asked you because you're getting comments from the citizens of Cortez, and you need to be able to answer those things. And I don't think you feel confident enough for that land use code. But I do think that if you have an existing land use code that you can amend as easily as you did tonight, then I think you should just stick with what you have and make those amendments as needed. You've wasted too much time. The community is not happy with those changes because they are having these questions. They're looking at those different items within the land use code, shaking their heads. The gentleman that spoke earlier today said he needed clarification. He did go to the right source to ask for that clarification, but there are still too many of those gray areas. So I just ask that instead of making something new and spending so darn much money on things, the city of Cortez, who does not have any funds that they have available to really be even moving forward, I think you need to just work with the land use code that you have in existence and make those changes as things come up. That's why a living document like your old land use code exists. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address council? Okay. We have no attorney's report. City manager?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Did you say yes, no? Okay. I couldn't hear you because your mic wasn't on. All right.
Happy holidays to everybody.
All right, city council committee reports. Anybody been to a meeting? Let me just really quickly, I didn't have my minutes from the November 13th Mesa Verde Country meeting. Probably the most important thing that we talked about was just a discussion on the lodger's tax increase. As I'm sure you're all aware, lodger's taxes are those taxes that are applied to the renting out of a room in a hotel. They are taxes that are paid by people who spend the night here, but in most cases they're not paid by people who live here. So that was probably the most important issue under discussion. Report on the workshop. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff for the delicious dinner. They have traditionally had an annual holiday meal that they serve council, and we are most appreciative of that. We appreciate the fact that they're willing to take some time and effort to do that for us. Laura Backstrom from the Cortez Water Dragons came in to visit with us about the sponsorship for the new blocks for the outdoor swimming pool. We had an update on employees' retirement program, a discussion on volunteer committees' annual discount at city facilities, a finance update, a presentation regarding the Colorado Water Plan, and a land use code update. I did, and if anybody's interested, I apologize. We had so many things on the agenda. If you are interested in reading the letter from the tourists from Ithaca and my response, it's here, and you're certainly welcome to look at that. That will be passed on to the Public Arts Committee. At this point, is there anything else? Do you have
Yes.
anything to add?
I just wanted to notify all the members of City Council that I took a part-time position at the Tribe in addition to having two businesses, which have been aided by being on the City Council, and I appreciate the time. Respectfully, I have to step down because unfortunately with these new positions, I cannot devote the time to this position that I feel like it deserves. And so tonight will be my last meeting, but I appreciate all of you, and I am very encouraged to see those of you who have come out and run. I really invite other citizens of the city to please consider being a part of this board. It can be a thankless job sometimes, but it's important, and we need to remember why we're here. And you know, weathering the criticism is just but a small part of it, but being able to affect positive change in our community and move this city forward is something that I take very seriously, and I'm very honored to have served with all of you. So thank you very much.
Well, and I would like to say, Jill,
thank you.
You've been a voice of reason, and I appreciate your contributions. You definitely.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I vote no.
I'm abstaining from the vote. Yeah.
All right, if there's nothing else for the good of the cause, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a safe holiday. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. All right, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. When are your kids coming? I trust they...
You know what? I got him a job at Dutton so he doesn't drive me crazy the entire time.
Thank you, Vicki.
I'm excited because I studied tribal law in school.